Hey everybody, I'm gonna start posting some videos on career advice. And here's my first one, which is 5 things that I wish I had known getting started in privacy and security and machine learning. And the first one is that it's hard. So when I first got interested in privacy and security and machine learning, I was mainly working in deep learning in NLP, so natural language processing, or what we would today, call LLMs, but that was 10 years ago. And I was like, how hard can it be? I thought to myself, like, I'm just going to spend like a year learning about privacy stuff and then I'll know everything I need to know and I'll just apply it to my work. I couldn't have been more incorrect. I've now spent, 8 years basically really curious about this field. I keep learning. And yeah, so it's hard. It's challenging to learn about these topics, and the topics themselves are quite challenging. There's not a lot of easy options. So if you're looking for easy options, don't actually learn more. Stay ignorant. No, I'm just kidding. Number 2, I didn't realize that I would learn a lot more about machine learning by learning about privacy and security. So what I didn't anticipate that I now know is I would end up understanding a lot more than most of my peers who stayed kind of generalist applied machine learning people, mainly because when you're studying privacy and security, you're really studying the internals of how the system works, of how the model works, of how training works, and even of things like how information theory works, if you want to watch my video on that. So you become really specialized, but in becoming specialized, you also learn a lot about how something works. And I think that's a super benefit. I would highly recommend people becoming specialized. Number 3, you certainly become more paranoid as a person. So you think a lot more about what devices you use, what information you put online. It's inevitable. If you're a security person, you already know this. Tell me in the comments all of your fun paranoid moments. Sometimes you become the bummer at a party because you know how security works. So yeah, just a forewarning if you're getting started. Number 4, you learn and work in really interdisciplinary environments. And if you're not used to this, at first there's a learning curve for how do I communicate what I know to somebody else who has a bunch of expertise in stuff I don't know. And figuring out this bridge of communication. How do you share something to another expert? Like, this person is an expert. They might not understand the words that you're saying, but they're an expert in their own right. Maybe they're a legal expert, right? Maybe they're a cybersecurity expert in a particular, niche that you know nothing about. Maybe they're an expert on a particular type of model architecture in machine learning or AI systems. So just be prepared to have these sometimes quite frustrating at first, but you get better at them over time, situations where you're trying to and failing at communicating what you know to somebody else who may be also trying and failing to communicate what they know. But the amazing thing about this work is you end up getting to interact with all of these experts who know a bunch of things that you don't know. And if you can figure out how to communicate well with them and to learn from them, you learn all these really cool things that you would have never learned had you not worked in privacy and security. And then finally, this was a hard lesson for me. It's still a hard lesson. You're gonna run into people where this job is a job, and that's okay, right? But you're gonna run into other people where it's a passion, I would classify myself as the passion group. And those have a necessary tension. For people who it's a job, they're not going to always want to fight for the most private or the most secure or something like this, right? They're playing political games or they're playing whatever games they need to keep their job or to advance their career. That is fine. We don't need to judge them. We can accept and love that everybody has a different motivation. Right? And everybody comes from a different place in terms of financial independence or other things like this, right? But find your people. Like the most important thing when you run into those situations, and, if you're somebody like me, really deeply passionate about the field, you're gonna end up finding other people who are passionate. They may not be the person you're interacting with right now, but they exist. And find your people, like whoever your people are. Find your people and they will inspire you and you will inspire them. And you'll get through the bumps in the road of coming across the people who aren't your people, which is okay too. All right, that's all my tips for today. Let me know your thoughts. What are your career tips in the comments? And any other career questions that you might have for me that I can shed light on.